Hi, I'm Kane. We recently found a glitch which messes with the scripts in the SCI engine. I'll do the short version first. This is what the final room in Quest for Glory 1 usually looks like. You walk up to the desk, a musical cue plays, the baddie leaps over the desk, and now you can move. But by pausing the game repeatedly, you can skip the frame-ruled delays built into the cutscene. If you then use a pause which lets the musical cue play during that pause, we can act before we get to the desk. And by breaking out of the script before it finishes, we acquire no clip. The script Desync works on most of the Quest for Glory games. It's an engine bug, not a game bug. This may be worth exploring in other Sierra games going forward. And now, the long version. In Quest for Glory 2, there is a scripted event where wizards want to cast Calm on Kevin, the captain of the guards. When you cast the spell normally, 3 things happen in sequence. 1. The first stage of the spell animation begins to play, ending with the hero's arms stretching out from his body. 2. 1.5 seconds later, Kevin becomes confused and starts to leave. 3. The spell animation finishes while Kevin is leaving. But I discovered that something curious happens when you begin casting and then do a minor pause. There are 2 kinds of pauses, a full pause which stops all music and sound cues, and a minor pause which does not. Quest for Glory has a lot of these, the F1 help pop-up, the time of day function, the stat screen, etc. If you cast Calm and then do a 1.5 second minor pause, the timing changes. Now, once the hero raises his arms, the brief 1.5 second pause is completely removed. Santa immediately saw a potential script desync candidate. He realized that the final room in Quest for Glory 1 has a very pronounced musical cue in its scripting. What's supposed to happen is that a script takes over which moves the hero all the way up to the brigand leader's desk. Several seconds later, or more specifically several frame rules, a dramatic musical cue happens. This is the cue for the brigand leader to jump over the desk. Control is restored to the player after the jump. At this point we can use an unrelated glitch to get hands-on. Don't worry about the particulars, the point is we can move around the room. Anyway, that's how it's supposed to look. However, if upon entering the leader's room you pause the game several times, done here by clicking on the top menu bar, you can bypass the frame rules by starting them, then letting them conclude during the pauses. This causes the musical cue to play early before we reach the desk. If we then do a minor pause to let the dramatic musical cue play out in its entirety, the brigand leader begins to jump over the desk and we can act early. If we then get hands-on, we acquire no clip. Since we broke out of the script early, the no clip state induced by the script never got disabled. We have begun looking at other Quest for Glory games, and while nothing useful has come up yet, it is worth noting that the particulars of this glitch also work in the VGA version of Quest for Glory 1. The fact that this works on an updated game and engine is quite promising. I do have one addendum as well. We are in Quest for Glory 2 again. There's a cutscene where a water smuggler gets caught. The way the script timings are supposed to play out is that Kevin orders the smuggler removed, the smuggler gets dragged all the way off screen, then Kevin gives you some parting words, and then Kevin also leaves. But if you keep pausing the game during this part of the cutscene, a full pause is fine, there's no need for a minor one in this case because there are no musical cues to manipulate. The frame rules which create all of the timings and delays in the scene get bypassed. Instead of the smuggler getting dragged off screen before Kevin starts moving, you can make them both move at the same time. This has no practical application in this case, but this is further proof of concept that any script, any cutscene, with frame rules can be messed with in interesting ways. Santa Claus thinks that there is value in exploring other Sierra games, and I tend to agree. Temper your expectations though, we only have 2 examples on the Quest for Glory side so far, and they are not game-breaking. There. Hopefully I'm not about to lead some glitch hunters off on some big old goose chase.